nice loops. And it was lockdown, so I had this idea for a while, and I suddenly had extra time on my hands, and I thought I talked to Noah about it, and he said, yeah, sounds kind of cool. So I said, okay, I'll make some loops, I'll send you the loops, and let's see what happens. So it wasn't really a planned thing, it was just something that sort of happened naturally, really. We were just sort of just riffing on ideas, and so that's how it started. Well, it was lockdown, so I'm not sure if we could have gone into a studio. Maybe. Actually, I guess you could, because I went into Black Sheep Studios here to do some vocal stuff. But most of it was done at Noah's studio, Campo studio in Lisbon, and then some of it was done here. Some of the keyboards and parts were done here, but mostly it was done the percussion and the electronics, and some of the vocals were done at Noah's Campo studio. Not really, no. No, I don't like to sort of. I think if you tell yourself something's going to happen, you can probably make it happen. You can. I mean, this is if we imagine that we all have horoscopes, all 8 billion of us, it's a bit like opinions. I don't know what you do with 8 billion opinions or 8 billion horoscopes. So I have to fall on the side of they're all meaningless. They don't have any special meaning. Your opinion, my opinion, your horoscope, my horoscope, the Queen's horoscope, the Queen's opinion. It doesn't mean anything to me, because I don't. If your opinion has to mean something to me, then there's 8 billion other people in the queue as well. So we're all sort of dogmatically brought up to believe that our opinion is important, and I think at the moment people are slightly over obsessed with that, and they think everyone should agree with their way of life or their opinion, and I just don't buy it. I'm afraid it doesn't cash at my bank. Well, I mean, yeah, loads of them, of course. I mean, we used the guiros quite a lot. I bought a bunch of different guiros, which are like it's a piece of wood with ridges in it that you scrape along to get like a rattle kind of sound. And we used those a lot on the album, and I really like those. No, we never did try with contact mic. But I have to tell you, the recording process was very laissez-faire, let's say. We'd turn on a synth, and usually preset 1 would be good to go. If we needed to use a mic, the one that was set up was the one that we used. We didn't get tweaky about actual, even the loops for Reset, they're MP3s from YouTube that would or MP4s that are converted to WAV or MP3. But they were straight from YouTube. We did everything very rough and ready, and it just, I don't know, we had good wind and everything just came together very naturally, and we've both got pretty good ears for stuff anyway. So I think we just sort of naturally pointed ourselves by instinct, because it was, it was in the middle of lockdown. It was tough times, and we were both pretty overwhelmed by events, not just COVID, but also the whole toxicity of the Trump, constant bullshit tweeting crap. And I think we had been talking for some time before we made the album about our feelings about things politically, the way things were going digitally with the internet, with phones, and the toxicity of mobile phones, and people walking around with them in their hands the whole time. People sit down, on a train or in a restaurant, and the first fucking thing they get out is their phone.
Yeah.
And it's all got, like, slowly, no one I think wanted to do this, but people have slowly been seduced into it by different apps and different ways of communicating, and AI targeting as well. Where they're being sort of reinforced in what they believe through artificial intelligence, tracking them and throwing at them stuff which it's assumed they will like. And we were talking about all these things, and are seriously worried about it, and felt there should be some dialogue about it. So, those became things we started to put into the lyrics. Well, the loops themselves did inspire the tracks, because they really had a lot of energy to them already. But I was also listening to a lot of, sort of bubblegum type stuff.
Sure.
Things like, the Arches, Sugar, and these sort of things, middle of the road, Sole, and these sort of really feel-good, awesome bubblegum pop songs. And I wanted to get the energy of some of these things. Also doo-wop, some early doo-wop stuff. And particularly the way that they, because usually it's just built around their voices and maybe hand claps and percussion, and sort of Dion and the Belmonts, Ruby Baby kind of jams, and also ska stuff and rocksteady stuff from the mid to late 60s, where they were dealing with really tough times, but they made this very positive, energetic music, talking about the tough times they were having, but in a positive way and in a unbeat down way, and trying to bring something, pull the positivity out of it. So all those things that I was listening to, whenever I felt something pushed my buttons, I tried to incorporate it into Reset a little bit, and different little percussion arrangements and ideas and ways of using it all sort of played into it. Whilst they never come out exactly the same as what the inspiration was, it creates an energy somehow. And I've always done that in my music anyway, but never so much as on this record. And it really felt like we had a mission with this record, and we wanted just to make something really positive and uplifting for people to try and reset themselves after 2 or 3 fairly toxic years. Was once we had the loops, Noah went and, I mean, 6 of the 9 tracks are his lead vocal. So, I mean, predominantly, but in general, the song was created as soon as he kind of wrote a new song, because he didn't really know the originals necessarily, and I didn't tell him necessarily what they were either. So he just heard them for what they were. He picked them because he liked them. I sent him a lot more loops than we used, and he just picked all the ones that he vibed with. And once he'd written his lyric on it, which created the song essentially, it definitely informed everything we did afterwards. It was just trying to underline and highlight the vibe in as fluorescent a way as we could. It was kind of like going in with fluorescent highlighters and doing different fluorescent highlighting in different places.
Right.
Just really trying to push people's buttons as much as we could and really make something that was just like, felt like a certain kind of joy to listen to or to ride along with. Cool movies, dang! I think that's not my. The movies that I think I'm not. I'm not a massive movie obsessive, and Americans tend to have a different interaction with movies. I think it's a different thing to it is in other places. At least in the UK, and going to the cinema, maybe it might be a bigger thing in America still with people. Noah would give you a whole stream of movies, I'm sure, but I mean, some of my favorite films are from like the 1940s or the 60s. I'm personally tend not to be a fan of contemporary Hollywood at all. Of course I'm going to be biased, but the European school of filmmaking, I think, is a little less blow 'em up, smash it, special effects, sort of things, and more about the story sometimes, and just good stories and good unusual tales. But yeah, I'm not really the movie guy, I'm afraid. Damn. Well, God. I mean, many of them really. I mean, I don't really, I always say I worked hard not to have a real job, and a part of that hard work was working with people who I really like to work with, and I've been lucky to work with different people, whether it's Beach House or MGMT or Panda Bear or Moon Duo or Cheval Sombre or Ice Age, or all in different places and in different spots. It's really nice working on stuff here, but it's nice working with MGMT in Los Angeles or New York, or with Beach House, it was in Connecticut in the winter with deep snow, and Yeah, I mean, I like the snow. I mean, especially looking out into the snow when you're not necessarily stuck in it. Where are you? Where do you live? Yeah, this is in Stanford, Connecticut, not a million miles away. Yeah, yeah. So many. Pretty much, everyone I work with, it's a different and a fun experience, and yeah, it's I can't think of one particular event that was more special than any others, really. Although making this record, I have to say, has been one of the most enjoyable. Even though it's been really tough times, and it wasn't easy. It was far from easy.
Yeah.
It felt like medicine getting the songs through from Noah, as they came through, and they seemed to be really articulate prostheses of what was sort of going on, what was in the air the preceding couple of weeks. It was uncanny, really. They were like little postcards from the present reality, and it was really magical, and also sharing them with other people. I was keen to see other people's response to it. So pretty much anyone who came within earshot listened to it, had to listen to it, and I could see instantly the reactions from people, and it was really nice, which kind of made us decide to finish it up and make a whole LP. To kind of project that for people, and of course, it's not going to fix the world, but I think, I believe that for every action there's an equal or opposite reaction, pretty universally, and I think that we wanted to be part of an equal or opposite reaction to everything that had been going on, and I think many good things did come out of the naughty step that the planet got sat on for a couple of years there to have a little think about things, and I think it was a useful time. I had some weird premonition that something was going to happen, but I didn't know what, and that's why I released my solo All Things Being Equal album in 2020. Just as the pandemic was really sort of kicking in. But of course it was recorded the previous year, but I actually kind of rushed the record to finish it because I just had this weird feeling that I wanted it to come out. I actually wanted it to come out in 2020. So it was just twos and zeros. But I think the announce might have been on that date, but it came out on 2020, I think. But I could see there were going to be all these, there was going to be some nice numbers in 2020. And when my record came out, which, again had lyrics that was really questioning a lot of things about the way I felt about stuff, and changes that I was trying to sort of bring into my life.
Yeah.
That it really resonated with people at that time, I think, and the sort of things I was thinking about was going through. I think it synced well. So and Reset was a little bit like that as well. It was. I don't know. It was funny to make a record that was very firmly coming out of a very specific time, a time we probably won't see again in our lifetimes. At least I hope not, or not in the same way, at least. a really interesting period, and I knew the moment it started happening that it was a formative part of my life, and it was one of the most dramatic things that had happened in my 50-odd years on the planet. So I was pleased that we could, that we pulled hard and we pulled something out of it that was, has a benefit into the future present. No, we didn't want to do it at all. Well, we wanted to release the record actually in last year, but Animal Collective already had an album lined up for release, and their management didn't want a conflict between Domino, the label, probably didn't want a conflict either between the Panther Bear and Sonic Boom record and Animal Collective record for obvious reasons. So we had originally wanted to just drop the thing in one go, no wind up, no singles, nothing, just drop the record for people to be able to enjoy.
That's so cool.
But yeah, we couldn't do that. So the compromise was, it was either put out the record in November when the vinyl could be ready, and it was too long. It was nearly a year. It was a year after we first wanted to put it out.
Yeah.
So the compromise was that it would come out in summer, which was something that I really wanted. That it would come out in the peak of summer. People could enjoy it in that time of the year, and the vinyl would be a separate release that would come later, and we split the two things. Well, we also, Reset is about, using different models for things. We donated a good chunk of the royalties and the publishing and our advances for the record to charity, to MAPS, maps.org.
Yeah.
And the same with the release schedule. The standard model is to do a 3-month drip feed with 3 singles, and we didn't want to do that. We wanted to do it under a much shorter period, and still have videos and singles and stuff, but really just spread it out over 1 month, not over 3 months. Which, I don't know, the labels definitely like to do that. It seems to work for them, but I don't like it. I think it's too, So we thought that the record would have its own natural energy anyway, and that it would probably be okay. And I think that's turned out to be the case. I haven't seen exactly with any figures or anything, but it looks from the stuff that I see coming through Instagram, it hasn't hurt at all. If anything, we got two promo bites of the cherry. So if people did miss it in the summer because they were away or something, then in November there was a whole new thing, and we, as part of that promo, we gave away an instrumental version of the record with a PDF songbook with all the lyrics and the musical transcribed, so people could play the songs, on their own instruments, or sing along, or karaoke style to the instrumental record. And at a certain point, I think just thought we should do everything for this record. We're so happy happy with the record and the vibe that it seems to be spreading with most people who hear it. That we did a Dolby Atmos 3D version of the record as well, for people who have access to that sort of multi-speaker array. And the instrumental thing was just something that seemed to be, it was a nice, no one really does songbook records, so I thought it'd be really cool to do a record with a songbook. And although I don't think there's no plan as yet to do hard copy versions of it. The songbook we will be printing up, and you will be able to buy the reset songbook with all the lyrics and transcription of all the parts. Yeah, I agree. And I don't have many songbooks. I maybe have that Beatles one somewhere. But the one I do know I have, the only one I really remember actually buying new was the Sex Pistols' Nevermind the Bollocks songbook, which was a formative part of my youth for sure. So yeah, we will be looking to try and distribute it like that. It's something that's totally alien to me, and it'll be another challenge in this, but that's all good. I do have a lot of vinyl. I do. I've been buying vinyl records for 50 years pretty much. So yeah.
Hefty collection.
Yeah, I have a fair few. I don't know exactly how many. I don't have every record I ever bought. If I don't really, unless I really resonate with a record, I probably don't keep it. I'll either give it to someone or sell it or something. But I have a fair few records. I don't know. I was at a friend's party on the roof of Tribeca Grand in New York, and he played me Person Pitch, and I really liked it. And he said, "Oh, well, that's cool," because the guy actually credited Spaceman 3 as an influence on the inner sleeve of it. So I sent Noah a message online and got in touch with him and said, "Hey, I really love this record. It's awesome. Thanks for the big up. And if you ever wanted to do something, some shows together, or I'd be super into it." So
very nice.
that's where we started, and then about maybe a year or so later, he asked me if I would help them remix the demos or soup up a little bit, I would say, beef up the mixes for Tomboy, the Tomboy LP. So that was the first thing we worked on together.
That is very nice.
No, it was, we would be, I usually have dinner with Noah every, 2, 3, 4 weeks, depending on if he's around and I'm around.
Yeah.
But we we hang out every couple of weeks, and we would have dinner, and then shoot the shit afterwards, and talk about stuff, and talk about different, I guess, political things. I'm sort of apolitical in a way. I'm not into the whole political system that we tend to navigate, and
I feel you on that.
I don't believe in it's either us or them. It's either me or you. Opposition. Defining yourself by your differences is not what I think is the way to go with politics at all. But and we discuss these things and discuss why there wasn't really good new models to replace capitalism, or no one could find a better model than capitalism, which is clearly a heavily manipulated and flawed model. I mean, based on vaporware, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just in the mind. That's the only place money exists these days, is in the mind. There is no gold reserve. There is nothing to back anything up. It's just a strange imaginary thing that we pass around, really. It's very, it's quite strange, and, it's just interesting, and we would talk about these things, and I guess get a little philosophical about the things, and it played a lot into the lyrics for the record, and, I think Noah has a good sort of moral center, and I think the way we both tend to think about things pretty similarly with politics and with humanity, the way humanity puts itself on some pedestal where it thinks that we're somehow removed or better than everything else on this planet that we share DNA with, and the sort of massive unreality that humanity perpetuates and we dogmatically repeat to our children and gets passed on. Religion would be one of the things where we would have conversations about it, and I guess poking fun a little bit at it, and immaculate conceptions. And,
yeah.
If I think about all the things that have been done in the name of Christianity, from the Crusades on down, just about every war, someone's claiming that God is on their side. And, this whole Christianity is based on this myth, this fairy tale that starts off with immaculate conception. I mean, it's quite funny, really. It's kind of insane that the greatest lie ever told is apparently if you tell a really big lie, you can get most people to believe it. Well, I mean, on the cover it describes it as psych soul, but psychedelia is a concept that the word is absolutely meaningless if you have no experience of the psychedelic experience. So it's a complicated one, but I personally, and I'm biased of course, but I think that it's quite a unique sounding record, and it does have some a little punky vim to it, but it's really a soul record in many senses as well. And Noah and I both like to do something, we're always looking to do something interesting and different, but only those things if we also think it's really good. But when you think it's really good and you think it's interesting and different, you kind of have the whole package there, I feel. So we would things, and the percussion stuff and the doo-wop, the sort of dal 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 dal, this sort of action. I mean, I thought it was. I think most people, for many years, it was all considered to be very corny. And even the Beach Boys thing, which we weren't trying to allude to, and Noah naturally brings that to it a little bit. But for years, when I would tell people I was into the Beach Boys, and they would sneer. They would go, "Oh, the Beach Boys," and I'd be like, "Yeah, well, not all their records are fun. Some of their records are my favorite records, particularly things like Smile and Today, and Pet Sounds, and Surf's Up. I mean, there's just some amazing stuff. So, and also Bubblegum. Sugar by the Arches might be one of the uncoolest records ever. But I think it's just amazing. I just love the energy of it. So there was many things that we were incorporating, these sort of like electronic elements with these skippy, happy-go-lucky percussion arrangements, and hand clapping always has a sort of upbeat vibe to it. The strings in Living in the After, I mean, it's not what you would. This isn't a recipe for cool, basically.
Yeah.
Somehow, if it's put together in the right way, the contrast of it, I think, against the lyrics as well. Contrast and depth of perspective in things is important to me, and that's why when Noah convinced me to sing on the record with him, I was like, okay, I never really did it that much, but I can sing quite low, and I think I'm going to go low, because you go high, and I go low, and I think the contrast will be good, and there'll be little resetting refreshers. Which is why my songs.
That's a good way.
Every third song is one of mine. As a bit of a sort of palate cleanser and a little. So yeah. Yeah, well, Lisbon in general is. I don't know if I have a bunch of favorite little spots, but there's some magical valleys on the mountainside here. The little mountain range in Sintra has lots of different, many different microclimates and types of ecosystem, and it's kind of magical. You can sort of stumble across little lost valleys that look like dinosaurs just left the picture, and things from like a whole nother time, and there's a lot of magical spots like that, and Lisbon as well is a cluster of different vibes. I would say the different areas all have a slightly different atmosphere and vibe, and have something sort of distinct about them, which is really interesting. And so I think you can find that almost in central Lisbon. You can find that almost anywhere, and not looking for it is sometimes when you see it the most. Well, we're going to be doing reset live shows, next year, starting in January. We've got Rockaway Beach in the UK, and then I think later on in the year, April, May, June, around then, we're looking at doing some stuff in the States and France, and I'm just trying to remember now, Italy, Czechoslovakia, Austria. Yeah, we're going to be doing little hit and run raids on a bunch of different places. We'll just do a few shows probably. I'm excited in general for this whole record, and playing it live is really. We've already done a few shows, and the vibe at the shows has been really nice. It was nice as well. We did both of the shows that we just did recently. We played after an obituary was given. Weirdly, at both shows, someone related to the show had died, and they read their obituary and gave speeches to them before we went on, which is quite can be quite tough, but and it was quite strange because we knew we were going to be going on stage and doing our party whistle and hand clap up tempo fun thing, which obviously we didn't want it to seem disrespectful. But I saw one review of the one we did in Belgium where Mimi from Low had died, and we got to play their slot essentially, and so they gave the speech beforehand. But I saw a review for it that said that how sad everyone was in the audience, and then it was the perfect show to pull the vibe round and pull people back into there's a the future's still okay. We haven't got to get to all things pass, right? Everything dies. We will all die. It's one of our great human unrealities where we seem to be in denial for at least the first half of our life that we're going to die. I don't know what we think, but we say these things. Oh, isn't it sad that so and so died? Isn't it? I don't know if it is sad, because that was the one guaranteed thing that was going to happen in their life after they were born. It was the only one thing. That was the only one thing that we will all do. We don't know when it'll happen, and we don't know how it'll happen. I think we have to stop telling each other that it's sad when it happens. I try to see it as if someone dies, that it was you gained from knowing them. There's no loss really. The perceived loss was always going to happen, so I don't know how that's a loss. But there was a gain, and sharing their lives and sharing your life with them is the gain really. And I think that's the way we have to look at it. We have to stop thinking about it. It's sad if people die. Especially, when it's more or less of natural causes, and that could be cancer. I mean, it's been around, as long as we have recorded history. Cancer has been there. We might not be we might be amplifying it in sometimes in some of the, eating everything out of plastic packaging. I would venture is one suicidal trait of humanity, which everyone seems to be blind to, and is endlessly in the name of food life and how long food lasts. We're prepared to put ounces and ounces of plastic polycarbons that remain in our body every year. The same person who created all the problems on this planet is the person who will fix it. We were all part of it. We didn't necessarily do it on purpose. We weren't aware of it necessarily. But once you are aware of it, not to change the way that you interact with the planet would be sociopathic, I would argue. you're a sociopath, or maybe even possibly a psychopath.
To just be able to
we
do
have
that.
to change our connectivity with this planet and recognize we need to be symbiotic. We are not the bosses of anything. If anything ever showed that we are not the bosses of anything, I think COVID was a pretty good illustration of that. Yeah, and I think we might be bobbing up and down. Those waves of reaction might be bobbing up and down for a while. I think it'll, yeah, as I say, it's a massively defining time, but how we define it because of this is what's critical. Yeah, a friend of mine had a nice theory, which was that we should try and sort of manifest what we want by naming this era in advance, not having it named retrospectively as the Great Depression or but actually and I guess the reset thing sort of plays into that a little bit. I think it's time, for people to think about and I think they probably have already, but to think about how we interact with each other. There's a massive fashion amongst kids these days to define themselves by their differences. I'm gay, I'm lesbian, I'm that. And I personally think defining yourself by your differences is a really, really crazy. We're back to the 8 million of us. If we all want to think we're so individual and different and special, I don't know what it means when you have 8 million people who we're all meant to. I think defining yourselves by your similarities, or if you have to define yourself at all, but defining yourself by your differences is how wars start. A random thought about myself. Is there such a thing? A random thought about myself. I don't know if I can randomly think. So, I guess a random thought would be I'm lucky.
Yeah.
I'm lucky in my life, in my work, and in my friends, in my family. It's good I think it's good to know when you're lucky and to not take it for granted. You make your own luck in many ways. Not all of it, but you can make a lot of your own luck. And I think just going out with a good frame of mind is already going to get you in the right direction, and you'll see what happens. But often the best things in your life, some of the most important events in your life, are the things that you didn't plan, you weren't on your bucket list. I don't have one, but if I did have one, these things that just happened.
Yeah.
Totally unexpected things. You just went out. Sometimes it was a day when you didn't want to go out, and you went out anyway. Or one of the best shows I ever saw was Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five in the early '80s, and I didn't want to go to the show. I really didn't want to go, and I got convinced by my friends who I think had some free tickets as well.
Yeah.
Because he worked at a record store. But I got convinced that they were all going, and it was either like sit at home by myself or just go along with them. So I went along, and sure enough, it turned out to be this really important thing to me in my life. So yeah, you never can tell with these things. It's good to keep an open mind with all that sort of the way things can happen in life, and not I'm not sure bucket list is I think all this. Oh, I must go up Mount Everest. It's the tallest mountain in the world. The people who go up Mount Everest leave so much trash up there. They've wrecked the place. People die to take trash up Mount Everest. So I don't know. People put dogmatically, again, they put these things on their bucket list because they think, oh, I must go to that place. Why? Why do you have to go? Do all 8 million of us have to go? Some of us worthy? It's kind of, I just have a feeling that I am a little bit, yeah. Yeah, that's yeah. Well, I always like psychedelics because you can travel further in your mind than you can travel on this planet. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend climbing an acid. I mean, it's one of the only things I ever got a prize for at school was climbing and abseiling. And I can see some people could get very focused and zoned in if they're more into psychedelics, but I wouldn't recommend it to the casual climber. I'm afraid I think it would be that's a really not a good idea. I really like the banana strains, the banana kush strains that, I don't know, I was getting in California about 15, 20 years ago. And recently a friend of mine in Amsterdam had some hash from a banana. It was somewhere in between hash and shatter, actually. It was quite clean down. But it was a banana one again. I really like the banana flavor. I like the fruity weeds. It was always on the West Coast where I would see that stuff. I had a friend, David, in San Francisco, who would get it, and it was never super easy to get. It was always very expensive, but it was just so good to smoke.
Yes.
But the weed in Portugal isn't as exotic, and the way weed is in America, and the fine tuning on strains, and it doesn't happen here. You can get great weed here, but if you think you're going to go out and get exactly what you want, you can forget it. How long have I been playing music? Well, I guess I started playing guitar when I was about 13, I think. I think when I first went to school, I went to a private school called Rugby School in England, and there were 60 kids in the same house, and a bunch of them had guitars and stuff, and I guess I just started fooling around with guitars because they were around, and the house I was in had a band practice space in the basement. Some of the kids who had bands had sort of set up they'd used some of the basement, the massive basement of the place to rehearse. So you could sort of go down there and fuck around. People would leave synths in there. My first ever interaction with a synth was there, and it was which I was totally mystified by, I have to tell you. But yeah. Well, be the change that you want to see. I think that's what I say to people in general. And, I always say to bands that I think you have to sometimes you have to be a little uncompromising. And, I never felt the need to modify my music beyond what I wanted to do for the sake of commerciality, or because I don't think it works. I don't think if you say I want to make a commercial record, it necessarily is. So I always followed my nose and my instincts with what I liked and what resonated with me, and drone-based things, simple chord patterns, all these things. So that would be be uncompromising, but I don't mean with other people, or I mean with yourself. Don't if you believe in it, just do it. Don't worry too much about what other people say, because for every opinion you can find the opposite, and you will always will be able to, and I hope you always will be able to. Yeah, no worries. You might want to be a little slicker on the timing.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you've had a crash course in WhatsApp today. So but
That's true.
no worries. And thanks, man. I appreciate it, and I appreciate that's really nice. Thank you. Well, of course, I'm going to be biased again, and guess what? It's just my opinion, so it's not really that relevant. But I think I think all the tracks stand up in their own on the record, but I think the whole thing is really what that for me is the way the songs speak to each other, and the way that the conversation that goes on throughout the record is what's the most exciting for me. But
it's a good one.
Of my songs, I would have to say probably Whirlpool
Mm-hmm.
was my favorite, and I was so happy with the way that turned out.
Yeah.
It might be like one of my favorite things that I ever did myself. And then for Noah, I think we're back to Danger, probably.
Mm-hmm.
It's not one that everyone picks as it's not like Edge of the Edge, which everyone seems to universally love. It's what, sorry? Yeah, it's that's the jam where I just love the vibe of it, and Everly Brothers song called Love of My Life, and the title of that played into the vibe of the whole song, and I just really, I'm a sucker for those sort of, I guess you'd call it a ballad or a torch song or a love song or something, but yeah, it's those are the two jams I'd pick: Whirlpool and Danger. Seven Heads. I have. Is it industrial?
Yes.
Yeah, they're from the 80s.
Yeah, they're old school, kinda.
Yeah, I don't know their music, but I've been aware of them. Were they Australian? Much about Seven Heads, but
I
yeah,
wanted.
I guess I've always been aware of them, but I never got particularly into industrial music. Although I do like some of it, Throbbing Grizzle. But yeah, no, I'm afraid I don't know Seven Heads. I did a remix for the Wooden Ships about 15 years ago.
It's a good song.
Their West album, and the remix was all of the songs on the album playing at the same time. Sonic Boom remix of Wooden Ships. Yeah. I'm trying to remember what it's called now, that track. I'm trying to remember what name I gave to it. But yeah, it was I was working, I think I mastered that record. So when I was mastering, I had a session set up with all the tracks in it, and I guess at some point I took all the mutes off, either by mistake or, I mean, often, here we are again, back to sometimes magical things happen, the things that happen just through the synchronicity of things happen chancely aligning and just dumb mistakes, and you push the buttons in the wrong order and something magical happens. I mean, I love those sort of moments because you have no expectation, and what you get from it, you can tell instantly if it's something magical. So yeah, those are again, they're the sort of things you can't really go out to create, but you just have to recognize them when they happen. Okay, how about Everybody Stands Still by Grace Jones from the Living My Life album. Metronomic Underground by Stereolab from the Emperor Tomato Ketchup LP. Let me see, I'll just flick through here. My Electric Husband by Bachelorette. From the End of Things album. The song, I don't know how to say this, Mbasela that's M''BESSEYLA by Lamine Conte, and it's from the album La Cora du Senegal. It's a Senegalese kora player. There's some jams. You Don't Care by The Techniques. Creature from the Black Lagoon by the Monochrome Set. I'm just flicking through my records here. Yeah. There's a few for you anyway. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Same to you, and take it easy, and good luck with your radio show podcasting. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Yeah, have a good one, buddy.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.